First order of business, approval of June and August minutes for 2021.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Review of recommendations to town council to pursue easements on quasi-public parking lots. Did everybody have a chance to look over those agreements that the town created? Any input? Rich, do you have any input?
No, as we discussed at the last meeting, give everybody some time to have a chance to review them. Part of the reason why this has come up is that two of the properties are currently on the market. One is a Main Street parking lot where the community pharmacy is, and the second is the Masonic Hall.
Okay.
And that's where public safety parks, and sometimes there are apparatus that are parked there as well.
Any update status on those?
I mean, they're still on the market.
Yeah. As far as I know, neither one are under contract.
Correct. As far as I know, it's about to.
Okay.
And I think the purpose of this was to try to give the town council some guidance as to how to proceed with it, and potentially create full easements instead of these agreements, which can be revoked,
I think it's a good idea.
to pursue all of them. Yeah, yeah. We spent the money. I mean, and even if you look at the cost of the parking lots, it's not much relative to what you'd spend today to do it.
I'm assuming that's going to come with maintenance responsibilities.
Well, we already have the
Right,
maintenance.
but
Yeah,
going
but-
further on.
Yeah,
Right.
I would imagine so. So does everybody want to just do a blanket over all of them, or are there particular ones to address first?
Want a motion for any or all?
Yeah.
I'd make a motion that we recommend that they move forward with to pursue easements on all the public parking lots at this point.
Second.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. New business, either the board or the public, anyone?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Nick.
Dr. Stephen York called me today and had a question he wanted me to ask. He couldn't be here tonight because they were dealing with a family emergency, but he's wondering why there was an 11th member. It was voted at the last meeting here to add an 11th member, and an 11th member wasn't added to the committee.
I think it's just process, isn't it, Rich?
I brought it up to the council meeting. I wrote what I thought the ordinance should say, which is to add that 8th member of the public to join the 3 members of the council, and eliminate the member from the Bucksport Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, because there is no Chamber of Commerce. But Luke has to do the ordinance. The town council has to approve the ordinance. You can't just,
Yeah, he just wanted me to see if I could get an answer for him.
Yeah.
Yep, we're moving in that direction.
Okay,
Take
thank
a
you.
little time.
Thank
More
you.
or less procedure.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other new business? Stephen?
Hi, Steven St. Peter Jr. And for once, it's not about electric cars. So I've gotten some complaints that Bucksport needs bicycle racks because I've had people from Bar Harbor and Bangor, some tourists that have, obviously borrowed bikes and stuff like that. They are worried that some of their bikes might be stolen or hit or whatever. Is there any chance that we can find a way to get bicycle racks in the downtown area? Speaking of quasi parking lots, that one that we just built?
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be a good spot for possibly a bike rack. Also, overlooking the water right where next to the Antique Mall would be a good spot.
Mm-hmm.
Just thought I'd ask, and maybe we can take this to the town council.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Any other new business?
Not new business, just irony that this weekend I was at a reunion of some old college football buddies, and that one I hadn't seen in 40 years, and told him I was still living in Bucksport. He said, I was at this big festival there back in 1979. I said, I just brought that up last week.
Was he there with you?
Funny. Not with me, but I haven't seen him in almost 40 years, and he remembers that big festival. So I guess I wasn't dreaming it. I guess it really did happen.
Okay, was this here on Main Street?
Yeah, they blocked off. I think it was between Mill Street and Mechanic Street. or some, maybe down further to the mill, I don't remember. But, yeah, it was, sometimes I think my memory's faded, but I understand it wasn't that bad.
So with the waterway not,
That
with
was
the walkway
before
not
the
being built,
walkway,
so it was
yeah.
all on Main Street?
Yeah.
Okay.
on Main Street, yeah.
And there were no public
There-
parking lots then? Is that,
Probably not, I don't remember, I just know the estimate was around 10,000 people.
what was the draw, do you recall?
So 4th of July, it was, you know, I can't even remember the theme. I knew that charities, similar to what they do with the Yarmouth Clam Festival, was a huge fundraiser for charities. I forget what my charity was, but we had a lobster booth, a crab meat booth. So,
What year was it we had Beatlemania?
that was later on, that was.
Because that was a big one.
Yeah,
too.
that was the first Bay Festival, I think.
I think that
The
one
mill
was.
supported that with,
That was huge
yeah,
too.
that was really big, yeah.
So would that have been the one known as Fort Knox Days, or was that the very first Bay
That was the-
Festival?
Very.
Whatever they called the very first one, that was somewhere around 92 or 93, I think.
So I think it was Fort Knox Days then, but it was all in similar, but for some reason at some point the name changed. But I just want to make sure that as we're telling these stories, and make sure that we're doing what the town's looking for, because 10,000 people is a lot of people.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was, that was an estimate, I remember hearing that back then, it was huge, it was, and people were making a lot of money, along whether it was the bars, the restaurants, the shops, the vendors. I remember a guy walking around with ice, I think I mentioned it, he and his buddy had a thing with a cooler and ice cream bars, and they each made $150 that day.
Wow.
I mean, this was back in 1979 too. So it was big, yeah.
10,000 is a lot of people. That's what we got for our 4th of July's when I first moved to Eastport. That was in 2006.
Yeah, I think they did it 2 years, and then that was it. I don't know what happened.
It's
But
kind of died down since then, but I remember it. Boy, it's a lot of people.
Do you have any new business, Rich?
Yeah, they didn't come in time, but I've got one quote, and then I got a question from Scott for us. He had questions about the quote, and then the third company asked if I could be available for a phone call tomorrow. So at the next meeting, I'll have those quotes for the marketing.
Okay.
We didn't have to put out an RFP because we've gone through the process, so now it's just getting a quote for anything over 2,500. The spending policy states that we need to get a minimum of 3 quotes.
Okay.
Question, Rich. Do you have any feedback on the art festival that you've heard? Or
I didn't receive any direct feedback. I know I made a comment at the council meeting that sort of like when the Pride Festival went on, everyone who said they were going to do what they were going to do, they did. There was no excess, anything extra that we had to do. Numbers-wise, I would leave it up to Main Street, Bucksport. I'm not sure if Mary may know. I know when we asked the Pride Festival, those folks had their own figures, so Mary might have figures as well. But I don't. I was away that weekend. I apologize.
Basically, it was good at one end of the town and not so good at the other end of the town. There were 2 restaurants open. At the other end of the town, no restaurants open. At my end of the town, and 2 years ago, when they had it, McLeod's had the $10 pub lunches, and it made a big difference. You know, you kind of need food at both ends. The people did not make it past the ice cream place to come down. I mean, Andy and I were like, where's everybody? So we're making some adjustments and changes with Mary for like the upcoming Maine Craft Weekend, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We're going to have a food truck, actually, down this end. Mary got a food truck. But, you know, we learn through all of these different festivals and events that we have what works and what doesn't. And after that event, the Arts Festival, we all got together and said what worked and what didn't, and why did this not work and this did. So.
thank
That's
you.
good. Yeah, Mary had mentioned, John Paul, actually, now that you say that they were supposed to have a food vendor, but they canceled on the
That's
day
right.
of.
Yeah, they didn't make it. They couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I know when Brooke previously did it, she had the Baldacci family one year, and it seems to, like Meg says, it seems to make a difference.
Yeah.
Because Warren's is open till 2, and they have limited seating, of course, with everything that's going on. And then Bucksport House of Pizza would have been open that day. So.
Yeah, Friars was open. They all had lines.
Yeah.
And we had people before noon, and they all wanted to know where they could eat. In the afternoon, very few people. Very few people.
We may want to help with maybe better signing different things like public parking, with like sandwich boards, public parking, food, just some ideas to toss out there. I like to hear that they're talking, because the chamber started doing this at the very end, about reviewing the events, what went wrong, what
Right.
was good, any feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure, John Paul's on Main Street, Bucksport, so I'm sure, getting it back to that board. But John Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of that was left this year to Lighthouse Art Center, because it was
Correct.
not done
Yeah,
originally.
We were just the fiscal agent. I mean, Mary was involved, but we were the fiscal agent.
They made money. I mean, they were able to split $1,000. It made money, but everybody was down the other end. Yeah, we had an in-depth discussion on the Wednesday after because of Maincraft weekend.
Can you, for those who aren't aware, because we did Maincraft Weekend
In
the
2019.
first year you moved
Yes, in
here,
2019.
but I'm
And
not
they
sure if
didn't
everyone knows what that is.
Okay, and they didn't have it last year because of COVID. It's a statewide event encouraging artists and crafters to have open studios. They encourage breweries to have events, musicians, and put together almost like an arts kind of festival, arts and crafts type festival, all Maine-made. Bucksport is one of the 6 featured towns around the state with extra marketing and promotion. We are part of a 2-page spread in Down East Magazine for the October issue, as we were 2 years ago. The town put money in 2 years ago through Rich, and then this year we had the support of Main Street Bucksport, and the merchants all put money in. And so this year we've been able to expand and have some musicians that they're going to be in front of Tomasco's from 1 to 5, and the ladies, Bucksport Garden Club is coming from 9 to 1. They moved their event up by a week to be part of our event, and so hopefully it will bring quite a few people to town. And they bring us signage. The Maincraft Association give us signs on wires to put all up and down Main Street. We're putting out a brochure, and then we'll have posters. So hopefully we'll have the brochures out within a week. People can pick them up around town and outside of town to help bring people in the weekend of the event.
The other thing I was going to mention, the new wall looks nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so they got the first 2 walls in. There'll be paving going on. As you can see in front of the Stubborn Cow, they also took out the old granite and put in new granite. And they're going to do something similar over by Ming's Garden when they get there as well, with, and I don't remember the technical term, I apologize, for handicap, but it's metal. We can't use, it's not recommended to use asphalt like they used in the past for those knobs for blind folks, people who are hard of seeing, to cross the road, so they're going to add those as well. Now, they're for sure that it's on the side where Ming's is, but they're going to check to see if it's across the road where that crosswalk is, because it only makes sense if you have it on one end that you have it on the other. The first 2 walls, they started on a Wednesday. Well, they cleared everything out on Monday, Tuesday. They assembled 1 wall on Wednesday, the one closest to Seaboard. Thursday, they took out the bricks over by Dave's, and then they had that one done Friday as well. They started here. We ran into a little hiccup, but DEP was called. DEP is all set. Everything was taken care of, sent to Juniper Ridge per their request, and they were able to proceed. So the rest of that wall is out. They believe they'll have it done because of all the rain that's expected this week, that it should be done by Monday. They'll then move on to Wall 4, which is the Ming's Garden wall, which will be a tricky wall because of the placement of the fire hydrant. and then they'll move on to wall 5. So right now, we are still very much under budget and ahead of schedule.
Great. Any other new business?
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Rich, being on the Economic Committee, I'd like an update, a little bit, a quick one. Industrial Park, downtown, how's our economy going?
Yes, so the industrial park, we signed the paperwork today. Blue Partners LLC has purchased lots number 2 and 3 in the industrial park. So, and this is in phase 2. So now in phase 2, there are 8 lots. 1 through 4 are on the left side and are all sold. Work has begun on lot 1, which is Main Marine LLC, which will be heated storage. However, the manufacturer of the building had promised that it would be delivered in August, and they can't get it here till at the earliest October. So they're going to be seeking an extension to get that building up. They have 6 months from the day that they get approval from the town council for the project, unless they come forward. This has happened previously with another project, and it was with my predecessor, so it escapes my mind on who that was, but I do. Well, yes, I mean the business.
Oh, okay.
I've got the paperwork as guidance to guide us through there. Greenhead Lobster is doing very well. Pemmican Mussel Farm is doing very well. Both plan for a Greenhead plans on an addition to their building. Pemmican is planning on an additional building. Lots 6 and 7 and 8, all on the right side, are available at this point. Whole Oceans at one point had expressed interest in lots 6 and 7 so that they could do processing up in the industrial park. And that's that phase. Lot 8 is going to be tricky because of the amount of wetlands. Once you exceed a certain amount, you have to come forward, you as a developer, with funds or land to mitigate what you're going to cover. So we'll be creative with that. There's 1 lot remaining in the original phase, phase 1, lot 3. I have someone who was looking at lot 2 in the industrial park, but it didn't make sense because of the amount of wetlands there. So they've looked at number 3, they've got the paperwork and should be sending that back in. With that, the majority of the industrial park will be sold. So there could be the look for additional industrial park, or that road, and Mark, you may know just as well as I believe, if it were to come out and snake out, it would meet up with Royal Ridge.
No.
No, is it farther down?
Royal Ridge would tie in with Paws Wings and things.
Okay,
That's the
but
back of that lot.
Similar in that area. Okay, because Paws Wings and things is a little further up on 46, but there's all that land back there, and according to the information we have, that could be potential expansion, whether we need industrial or
Residential.
For the downtown, Simply Soul Boutique, I've reached out to both Mary and Terry. We're going to do a ribbon cutting for her on Saturday. She's doing very well in her location. She started as an online business, and a lot of her folks were like, oh, it'd be nice if there was a place where we could try it on, blah, 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 and it's taken off. She's done extremely well. The ice cream parlor had a good season. We've heard nothing but positive economic impact for the businesses when the NAO Santa Maria was in town.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them said that was their saving grace from the loss of 2020. A lot of them made up for that revenue shortage in that 1 week that the ship was here. We did have a lot of tourists this season as well, even outside of that, and we still do have that. What we are facing, and this was a problem prior, but restaurants and cooks. Cooks seem to be the biggest challenge. And if you haven't heard, Buck's Bar House of Pizza is the latest to drop and close 2 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So they are now closed Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and again, it's lack of employees. So financially wise, I think a lot of them had a very solid year. I think it's the employee part that is catching up with them. Elsewhere, you have some businesses that have sprouted up outside. You have house businesses, meaning working out of your homes. There's a moving company called Stout Brothers, located on Central Street. They've had some amazing reviews from the people that they helped move. They've got a sign right out front now, so they're doing quite well. And then the bottle redemption at the former Quick Stop on School Street, they'll pick up. They seem to not even have a radius of how far they'll go and pick up bottles for you. They're very helpful. I've heard nothing but positive feedback from the customer satisfaction experience. So, and the guys and gals that work there are doing quite well as well. The Alamo Theater is closed right now because of the pandemic. People aren't going to the movies, so it's nothing financial or anything like that. It's just folks aren't comfortable yet going to the movie theater. So this winter will be interesting, and Marina had a great year this year. The town dock had a great year. We had an unexpected cruise ship this weekend. We have our last cruise ship coming the 14th, and we will net over $15,000 from the cruise ships. Mike and I are reviewing what the charges are, our cost schedule, because we do need to replace a lot of the marina floats down there. We're still working on funding for a new town dock system. We took overflow this year from Bangor. You may have heard on the news recently their docks just came in. Make sure everything works, and then those docks are coming out of there. So we've got a waiting list still at the marina, and all that's adding a lot. And what we wanted to do this year, but just supply and demand and everything else has really gotten to us. But Mike and I had talked about some along the lines of what Steven suggested, but renting bikes out of the marina, electric bikes, regular bikes, and those would need some bike racks that I believe there are some up at the PD. The schools have bike racks.
We do at one of the schools.
One of the schools. But there are bike racks somewhere. They need to be put out. They need to be placed somewhere. So we can definitely make that happen. I can't remember if it was Meg or Paula had reached out to me in regards to banners that used to be put up on the street poles. Found them.
Where? I've been asking everybody around town.
The crew that works for me on the waterfront, the young gentlemen, both of whom don't work here any longer, because they've got full-time jobs now year round. They had placed them probably in a place that I would have thought to place them, but I didn't think to place them there. When I do it, I put them in this building so I know where they are. They're down at the fishing pier building in a big black garbage bag, and I'll take them over in the spring. I'll wash them, clean them, and then we'll get them up next year.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Have you
One
had
mystery solved.
Have you had any inquiries from anybody, even just checking about possible bar, restaurant on the water sites? One of the things, I think everybody recognizes, and maybe it's just not economically viable for somebody, is to have a place to have cocktails and sit and into 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night in this town. And it's, I've never run a restaurant or bar, so I'm not going to presume to know anything or know why they wouldn't, but I'm guessing it's just right now it's not something feasible that they want to take on. You haven't had any inquiries of anybody that...
We did have one. And we thought George McLeod's building where the antique shop is up top would have been an ideal location, because, over the years, we being the state of Maine, outside of Old Orchard Beach and Ogunquit and places like that, we don't use our waterfront to our benefit, I don't believe. People like to be outside, they like to eat. I mean, the only restaurant on the waterfront is Warren's. I mean, it's not right over front, but when we go ATV riding up to Greenville, I mean, gosh, they're building another building on top of the water. So I have to do my research to figure out if the reason why we're not is because of the things that we built. We needed to preserve land. Did we preserve it by this walkway? Is that what's prohibiting us from building out towards that walkway? Because it would make so much sense. People like water, whether or not they want to be on it.
Yeah, if you travel anywhere, whether you're in Florida or in Greenville, is a good example up here. Hollowell, there are places on the water that people can, and they stay open At least 10 o'clock. I'm getting old, but I'm still not that old. I'd like to go out and stay out a little bit, you know?
One last question. TIF, we can't do anything to improve the frontage on Main Street and stuff until Whole Oceans comes in. Am I correct on that?
The original, so all of the TIFs minus what was left in the mill TIF have been exhausted or expired. The money's left in the former mill TIF. I'll have to get an updated figure for you, but there's not very much there. The new TIF that was created for Whole Oceans had monies designated, and this committee, if I'm not mistaken, helped with some of the input of facades. I think we talked about signs, roofs. We talked about doing that, and that's in that next step. There was a considerable amount of money
Right.
available for projects like that. Also, sidewalk, like Central Street's missing sidewalks and things of that nature. So everything in the downtown area. Now, the downtown area goes up to Franklin Street, but does not include the side of Franklin Street where the public safety building is. So that side of Franklin Street is considered the village. That heading up Central Street. Everything down below is considered the downtown district. And all of those side streets down to Mill to Franklin have been put into that for sidewalks, street improvements, and of course, the town council approved the 3-year plan for the road improvements, which is obviously has been happening. So streets will be repaired. It's just really getting a hold of Whole Oceans to move that project forward so we can get tapped out of the money.
Any update on that?
The town manager provided the council with an update. There's been some recent managerial change. Mike Thompson, who was overseeing the project, has gone back out on his own and will help Whole Oceans as they venture forward if they require his help. As of right now, we don't know of who the new names of the new managerial folks.
I guess my question would be, how long do you postpone projects that are dependent on Whole Oceans and that money?
Exactly.
That's when
Well-
it comes. That's when you'll have to, depending on the size of the money. If you go over, did we send to the voters 275,000 or 300,000?
I think it was 300, wasn't it?
You'd have to put it out to voters if you try to spend anything above that amount of money at this point outside of TIF. Meg, I mean, I guess you could do it possibly breakdown out of general fund, out of taxes. What we were trying to do was avoid upgrading somebody's building with taxpayer money.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any other?
Yeah, a couple things and follow-up. I don't know if we have this data, but I think it would be, you were talking about the industrial park and how well it's doing. It might be good data to have how many total jobs are at the industrial park, and I think it'd be interesting how many of those employees live in Bucksport. When you talk about expanding the park or a new park, that'd be good data to have to know how, outside that there's a lot of businesses there, what is it doing? You mentioned the moving company there on Central Street.
Yes.
Are they the people who bought that lot from the town?
You know, I'm not sure how they acquired that property.
It was up for taxes probably
Yeah.
3-4 years ago.
Right.
Okay.
And I was wondering if it's the same party or, but in any event, even if it's changed hands, that's a real success story. I mean, that was a building that was going to be torn down. It was just a real problem for the town, and went through a lot of legal stuff, I think, in the process. And now, I mean, they've done a really nice job there.
Those
Good
lots
timing
of
for
the
moving
industrial
business.
park are taxed.
Yeah.
Right? They're They pay tax.
But,
They pay tax, yeah, so, how it works is the land is free. So you take the, assessed value of the land today without any, improvements on it. And then, they'll come forward and tell us, what they plan on doing. Caitlin, who is our assessor, will attach a value to that. And then there's an equation that you figure out, you divide it. So basically, the number of years that they pay taxes to cover what the cost of the land would be is how long before that lot is paid off and the mortgage is released. They pay $1 for the lot, we'll give them a quick claim deed. Some of the folks have been quite, they have a good financial background because they use that. 'Cause if you're a new business trying to start up, typically a financial institution will lend you 85%, 85% loan to value. So they'll use the price of the land towards that formula, and that's, it's a creative way without even having to ask, that a few of them have taken advantage of that.
I think that would be good data to have along with what you're
Right.
asking for,
Yep.
is what tax revenue we're getting from
Tax revenue.
those.
Yep.
And do you want, Caitlin might be able to get his equipment tax as well. Are you simply looking for the value of the building and the land, or would you also like to know?
well, whatever revenue is
Whatever
bringing
you
the
get.
town.
Okay.
And then the final thing, you mentioned the Alamo. Yeah, just as an observation, I would think that the Alamo is a big economic driver for the town. And when that thing was buzzing a couple years ago, people were coming to town. They were going out to eat. I don't know if they were shopping in the shops or not, but they were spending, so, as we move forward, I would think that's something that the Economic Development Committee would want to see how we could partner with Northeast Historic Film to get that thing running again.
He makes a good point. They did shop.
Yep.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, bring people in on Friday or Saturday night.
Yep.
I agree.
Besides the fact that, and it plays right into community as an economic and community development. I mean, that's really sad that that's not part of our community right now. I get it. I mean, I understand. But I think if there's something that we can partner with them, in any way and advertising and whatever, I think we ought to be looking at that.
I agree. It's a big loss to have right now, especially for Friday, Saturday night.
Any other new business?
I just want to make a comment. Rich, what's that last place in the industrial park? As you go right through on the end, that lobster place, Green, what you call it?
Greenhead Lobster?
Yeah, I had a chance to go all through that. And it's quite interesting too. Both my grandchildren are in that. One is administration, the other one just became the engineer of the whole place. Now that same man has 4 plants altogether?
Yes, Hugh has Stonington, Bucksport was his 4th. He's in New Hampshire, and I believe he has 2 down in the Deer House, Stonington area. This one came pretty well equipped though with water, sewer, so it's and of course our proximity to Route 9 in Canada, it's opened up a lot for him. So yes, he's got 4 locations, and this was an ideal one. Our friends down in Stonington really helped. I went there one time out of a whim for a broadband meeting, and they asked for one fun fact, and I thought it would be fun to tell them about the free land at the industrial park. And sure enough, the economic development director and the town manager spoke to Hugh about Bucksport's free land, and he called me within a week. So,
Boy, when I went there, there's a lot of people that worked here, but still it's quite a turnover.
It is, and I'm not quite sure what the turnover is going to be now with the NOAA rulings for the lobstering off of the coast of Maine. It could have an even bigger impact. In the off months, my understanding was where they wouldn't be able to do lobster, they would be doing crab processing. And of course, we have a crab processing plant up there, which, and I apologize, that building's up for sale. But as of right now, it's come to my attention that there's a clam processing place that's utilizing it. They had previously used the Central Maine Cold Storage, which that building is also up for sale right now as well. So the turnover there is turnover. They pay very well, but a lot of people are looking for that stable 12, all 12 months work. They want to work all the time, not seasonal.
I know their schedule is quite different. I mean, sometimes they have a lot in and then a lot, but my grandson runs that, is the engineer up there.
Okay.
Keith, yes. And they're going to send him over to Switzerland, but they can't operate without him, so the people from Switzerland are coming over here.
Excellent.
And they're training in all 4 places. I hope they realize what they got in their hands, because he's increasing production already. He's very familiar with all that equipment, and he's more or less, he doesn't replace much. He can repair everything. That's the type of kid he is. He can repair anything, but he's working his butt off. Jeez. I hope they appreciate what they got.
Yeah, matter of fact, he reached out to me today. I was mentioning this before the meeting, so we're going to connect tomorrow.
Good.
Any other new business? All right, item 5, schedule next meeting. You got a thought, Rich, as to what you want to do?
Is this the second? Is this the second Monday? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It is.
Do we want to meet the second Monday in October? Will that work for everybody? Is that the holiday?
that's Columbus Day.
Okay. And will the 18th work for everybody?
And I won't be here, but
Works for me.
Okay. So we won't do the 11th because that's Indigenous Peoples' Day. We'll do the 18th. October 18th at 6 p.m.
Item 6, adjournment.
so won't.
All in favor? All right.